Hello, world. Welcome to episode 26 of the podcast monitor. Last time we went and we're working on some of the methods, finishing up the date range method and adding a method to get episodes from a feed that are on a specific day. And then we started to kind of lay out some of the stuff for the difference. So we're going to continue with adding these filter methods. But first, we're going to add a new task. So let's just get started, and we're going to add in one more task here. Now, I don't know. This one doesn't it's not really the same as the filters. But the thing is, for now, I'm just going to put all this logic here, and we'll look at later what where the best place to maybe possibly relocate certain things are. But for now, this is probably a good place to put it. The best location to put it would be to put something directly in the feed here. But then again, technically the filter stuff, you could argue could kind of go in there, but we're going to add another task in here for create filter method to calculate the total episode length. So basically, right, if I have a feed and it's got, and let's say I filter it down to a day, right? How long are all those episodes in the day? This is a sort of calculation which probably might go somewhere else, but we're just going to kind of add that logic in here for now when we get to it. So let's say git commit added Okay, so now we're going to come in here and basically we need to add these tests and implement this here. I was thinking about these names and I don't like them. So I'm going to update them to check against, or let's think. So we're going to basically, right, what is the difference? It's saying, okay, so I get this feed and I'm checking it against this feed and getting the difference of things that are in this feed that aren't in this feed, right? The union will check one feed against another and find one that are in both. So I think I'm going to I'm going to use that for now. So we'll update that there, and then we're going to come in here. So now we need to make sure we create the feeds that we're going to use here. So we need overlapping feeds and independent feeds. Now we actually already have those, right? We have this feed, the initial feed overlaps with both of these feeds, the filtered feed, and in fact they're different overlaps, and that's actually kind of useful here. And the overlaps basically both these two, and these two don't overlap. So we could use these. Now, one interesting thing, though, is the metadata, right? So do we want to test that we're getting back, right? So let's say we filter this one, and we get the difference between this one, and the difference is episodes 3 and 4, which is this one. But these two have the same metadata, and so do we want to also make sure we're getting this metadata back? Yes. And so that being the case, I guess I'm just going to create another one. So let's come up here and we'll create a metadata 2 equal to feed metadata, and the name some other feed. We'll have the URL. What is the check on the metadata? Yeah, so it's just HTTPS. So feeds.feed/feed. And then we'll come in here and the type, this one will be sub. And basically, so we'll say self.subfeed equals feed. And we're going to clean all this up at the end and make it definitely a lot nicer than kind of all these random things, and we'll figure out a better way to kind of do this. But let's get these tests in place and code the functions and stuff. And so the episodes here, it's actually we want to feed 2, and we'll say here we're going to give it episode. Well, actually, these are both mystery crate, so why don't we actually use the mystery crate information? And so let's come in here, do this. And I probably want to update these at some point to be the same sort of strings. Instead of using the double, use the single, but for now that's fine. All right, so metadata, let me just leave that for now. Metadata 2 is metadata 2, and this is going to be episode 3 and episode 4. And so, because those are both mystery crate episodes anyway, so it actually logically does make sense. And so in here, we're going to say filtered feed equals self.filter.difference check self.initial feed self.subfeed. All right, and then so we should self.assert equal the filtered feed and self. And so basically, right, the difference between this one and this one is going to be this one, and we want the metadata to hold the same, so it has the same metadata here. So it's this in episodes 1 and 2, which is the filtered feed. And then in this one, we're going to say filtered feed equals self.filter.difference, and the check here, well, I guess, yeah. So the check here is going, now we don't need to create another one with the other metadata because we're already checking that there. We could explicitly check it in another test, but I think that's fine. So we're going to check filtered feed against self.jan20 feed. And actually, well, I guess we could also check it against subfeed. Because that's the only difference between the two anyway. So, and then here, so here we have episodes 1 and 2 getting checked against episodes 3 and 4, and we're going to get an empty feed back. So self.assert equal filtered feed self.empty. Okay, and let's just run to make sure that we fail but don't have errors. So we're in tests, filter. All right, so we got 2 failures because we're getting none since we're not doing anything there. Check this, commit, update it or defined right, and now we just need to add the logic to here. And so, right, basically, what do we got to do? We got to go through, so the return data is going to be equal to metadata feed check metadata. And at the end, we're going to return a feed with the return data. All right, now we basically need to set the episodes in there, because as of now, if we come in here and run it, right, so now we see we don't have episodes. So we need to set the episodes. So d return data episodes, and what is this going to be equal to? So this is going to be equal to a new list of episodes. So I guess actually let's follow this sort of pattern that we're doing here. So we'll say episodes equals ep for ep in check episodes if ep not in against episodes. All right, and then this is equal to episodes, and will they both pass? Nope, we get one failure. So the independent feeds failed. Oh. Okay, that makes sense. Right, so we're gonna update this to, so I think, okay, so first of all, I think this is gonna be the correct logic. The tester is just wrong. So let's say get status, get commit, defined filter difference bugs in test. Okay, so now we got to fix the test because the tests are actually wrong. So this is filter the difference of partially, two L's? Yes, two L's, cool. Partially overlapping feeds. This would, then there's another one we could say test difference of completely overlapping feeds. And then this one. So this one is actually going to be empty for the when they're completely overlapping because the difference between them is nothing. The union is the full thing. So here, the difference of this one is actually just this because they are completely different feeds, right? The difference between filter feed and sub feed, which is this one and this one, is filter feed. Everything in here is not in there. So now for the empty one, right, we're checking initial feed and we need a new thing to check it against. And so here we need to check against something that is completely overlapping of the initial feed. And so here we need self dot, or well, I guess, actually we can compare these two. These are completely overlapping. So instead of initial feed, we can compare Jan 20 feed against sub feed here. Right, and so these two feeds, Jan20 and sub feed, completely overlap, but we should get back this metadata and not this metadata. All right. So let's run them. Okay. Now we have 7 tests running and all of them passed. So we'll say git commit and fixed UTs and added completely overlapping. All right, and then we can mark this one completed. And now we'll start the union. All right, and so let's do the same sort of thing. So we'll say def union, and this will be self check feed against feed, returning a feed. And then in here, we'll basically want the same sort of thing, except instead of the difference, of this. So now we're, and these are now all going to be union, and we can use the same sort of thing here. So we can still write union initial feed and sub feed, right? So here we have initial feed is this, sub feed is this, and the union should be the initial feed with episodes 1 and 2, which is filtered feed. Or no, I'm sorry, the sub feed. So the initial feed has 1, 2, 3, 4, and so the sub feed has 3 and 4. So Jan20 feed should be the proper result here instead of filtered feed, right? It's basically the opposite, since these are the ones that are distinct. And then so same thing here. So now we're unioning Jan20 feed and the sub feed. So I guess this isn't technically a union. Union of sets. In set theory, the union denoted by is a collection of sets and the full set of elements in the collection. So technically it's not a union because we're not creating a union. And I think it might not be actually a difference. So maybe we'll have to change the names. So it is, we are doing the difference of sets, I believe. I'm just looking it up right now. I'm not gonna, I don't know. Yeah, I guess I can switch over, it's fine. So this is just what I'm kind of looking at over here. Oh, that's interesting. Because they're different sizes. Okay. So the difference of two sets, basically, so this is what we're, if we have set A and we have set B, right, we're basically returning, we are returning the difference. So, but we aren't actually returning a union. We're actually returning set theory elements in both. I think it's, is it intersection? Maybe it's intersection. The intersection sets can be denoted by that symbol. It's defined as the intersection, those elements which are common. Okay, so I'm gonna switch that. So let's switch this to be, actually here, hold on. We'll do it like one step at a time. We'll do it in kind of the next one. So we'll update all these things to intersection after this. But so the so just, you know, I'm gonna use intersection now, and then we'll update it in a second. So the intersection of the initial feed and the sub feed is the Jan 20 feed. The intersection of the Jan 20 feed and the sub feed is just the Jan 20 feed still. There is no, so as opposed to here being empty, we're basically getting the same feed because these are a complete intersection. They completely overlap. And then the last one we're intersecting is two independent ones, and that should be empty then, right? Because filter feed and sub feed, filtered feed has 1 and 2, sub feed has 3 and 4, and so we should get that one back. And so let's run this. All right. And so git commit am added tackle for filter union and defs for UTs. All right, now let's go in and we'll switch everything to intersection. All right, and here we have union. And then we need to update this to intersection. All right, and let's run that. Intersection. Now we'll run it. All right, and then we just get those things out here. So git commit, and so we'll say filter union. So now we just need to implement the intersection, and that's going to essentially be the same as this, except we're going to flip that. Now, these are obviously very similar, and is there code redundancy? Well, not really, because, I mean, these lines are just to make things clean. So the fact that they're the same, and then this is the only difference, but this is literally just a list comprehension. And so the only way to really make this like simpler would be to do like a whole nother list comprehension, or right, to have some sort of construct here. And the main thing there would be, well, this would then point to them kind of the feed not being a quote unquote vdict as much as a class with like a vdict inside of it or something. Where it kind of accepts another one and then filters against it, right? So, and we're not going to do that right now. So let's run this. Okay, we get one failure, and the failure is in the intersection of independent ones. So let's first check the test and see if we made a mistake. So filtered feed, sub feed is still, oh no, wait, I thought I changed this to, oh, I thought I changed it to empty. I guess I didn't. All right, now it'll pass, cool. Define filter intersection and fixed UT. And actually, before we do that, let's also complete this. Okay. And the other thing to just kind of check out, right, is so let's say here let's say we flip these, right? just as like a demonstration. So we're going to get a test, we're going to get an error, and they're not equal. And the reason they're not equal is because it has the wrong metadata, right? So, I mean, we don't really need to verify that per se, because we are with the test, right? We don't need to explicitly say, hey, the metadatas are, like, we're basically doing that with all these tests. So now, last thing, I feel like I'm rushing a little bit through this, but the very last thing is to calculate the test. So we'll create another method. We'll say def calculate total episode length. And here instead, so this is like, so this is very clearly not a filter method, right? But that's fine. We can always change things later. Not everything needs to be perfect all the time. Work in progress. And then in here, we'll say def test episode length calculations. And so, well, I mean, just test them all in one, right? So we'll come in here. All these lines. Okay. Quick calculator here. So 1 and 2 is going to be 3462 plus 2210. 3 and 4 is going to be 3322 plus 1598. And then the combination is there. All right. So now we'll just plug all those in here. Just real quick. So we'll just say 10592. And we'll do 0. This is 1 and 2, so this is 5672. And this is 4920. And the same. All right, get rid of these. So self.filter dot calculate episode length, self.initial feed, assert equal 10592. And update all of these real quick. And get rid of that. All right, so let's say git. I guess let's just verify real quick. Failure. Okay, git commit. Git status. Commit em. Task. right, and so for this, we're basically going to say some turn some ep, and so episodes, it's just length in seconds, and it's an integer, so we're good there. For ep in feed episodes, and that should do it. So let's try it out. Cool, that was fast. And then so we'll mark this as complete here. And status get calculate total episode length. Cool. And that completes all the tasks for the filter. So that was kind of, that was quick. We were able to easily just knock out all that stuff because everything else was just nicely in place. So we look at the log here. So we'll go get tag at 26. And so, yeah, so we're basically done with the episode filter, which is the last component. And so we'll look into, this doesn't really need any refactoring. This is very simple. So we'll just look at if we want to kind of clean up this tests and make things a little more clear. I think overall it's actually not in bad shape, but we'll just kind of consider the names of things, and maybe just kind of some formatting or whatever in general. So we'll kind of clean that up. We'll merge everything in. We'll do all that kind of next time, and then maybe we'll probably have time to kind of, since that should be really quick, we'll have time to kind of play with this and actually call it for real, right? We'll kind of, throw together a quick script of calling, grabbing the feed information, calling it, and kind of like really looking at this end to end and getting kind of some output from it. And as long as that all is looking pretty good, we'll be able to consider what we kind of then want to do we'll look at the prototyping, the Twitter API, and actually kind of using all of this to do something real. So we're actually, now with all this in place, we're really kind of getting to the late stages, right, of it. We've now built this thing and we'll be able to use it. So that's kind of cool to be at that stage. So yeah, we will clean up some stuff next time and move on. So until then, see you.